Welcome back. In our previous session, we discussed about solar system. We have discussed about some sort of theories, and in the last part of our recent session, we have discussed about overview of our solar system. Here, I just want to mention you one thing, that solar system also there in the science or science and tech as well. So we just have to be aware about the generalized overview of our solar system, which we have already done. Moving ahead, let's see some of the questions which have been asked from this particular topic, especially the prelims question which have been asked. Though the question are a bit older, but still they are relevant because there might be a question in prelims. However, questions will be in a generalized manner. There will not be a question based on the we can say the expertise or deep diving kind of question would not be there. Very generalized question there. Here you can see the sample as well. So this question have been asked by UPSC. Now the question is based on the differences between the asteroids and comets. So I hope in the previous session we have discussed about these dimensions, what is asteroid and what is comet. I hope you are aware about that asteroid belt. I hope you are aware about that Kuiper belt. All right. So here you have a premises. So just read this statement. Asteroids are small rocky planetoids, while comets are formed of frozen gas held together by rocky and metallic minerals. I told you, like this part of comet, or let's say Kuiper belt, is basically beyond the Neptune's orbit, and it is believed that there we have some sort of cool kind of condition. Oort cloud is also there. So on the basis of this particular aspect, we can say statement 1 is correct to some extent. Here if you see, this is what the main premise. You can use some elimination technique as well. So asteroids are found mostly between the orbits of Jupiter and Mars, while comets are found mostly between Venus and Mercury. Let me remind you that when we discussed about this particular aspect, I told you that here we have an asteroid belt. So most of the asteroids will be lying in this particular region. Most of the asteroids will be lying in this particular region. And here I told you that we have a Kuiper belt where mostly we have a comets. And this asteroid belt is situated, it is sandwiched between Jupiter and Mars. All right. So if we see this particular question, so asteroids are found between orbit of Jupiter and Mars. Yes, this statement is correct. While comets are found mostly between Venus and Mercury. Venus and Mercury. This is what the aspect which has been given with respect to the comets. Comets are basically beyond the Neptune's orbit. So this statement is not true. Yeah, partially it is true, till while it is true, but after the while the statement is false. So when you have this kind of condition, half true or half false, you have to consider that complete false. Okay, so this statement, complete statement, is what? False. This is what the false one means. You can strike out this option. So if you eliminate this second option, so this answer will be eliminated, and here this answer will be eliminated. Option will. Now you are stuck between these two options. So in exam, I would like to suggest you that when you are stuck between, when you are stucking between these kind of conditions, where you have to choose, you have to take risk, you have to play on the probability, obviously while using some knowledge, while having some sort of elimination. When you stuck between two options, go with it. Okay, go with that particular question. Now third statement, comets show a perceptible glowing tail. I told you, which asteroid do not, obviously. So this statement is correct, third is correct, and 1 is. So 1 and 3 would be the correct answer of this particular question. It seems a very tricky question rather than difficulty. It's a very conceptual question rather than factual information. All right. So very generalized question will be asked by UPSC in exam. Moving ahead, here you can see we have one more question based on the expansion of universe. So which of the following is are cited by the scientists as evidences for the continued expansion of universe? Big Bang theory is related with the continuous expansion of universe. Now, just apply that particular theory, that with these options where that particular theory is suited the most. If you see this very first option, detection of microwaves in space. I hope you remember when we discussed about that Big Bang theory, there was a one diagram, and in that particular diagram there was a mentioning of microwaves. Let me show you. Here we have this cosmic microwave background. When we have this microwave background, specifically with respect to this particular question, so what is the first premise? Detection of microwaves in space. Yes, detection of microwaves in space suggests us that to some extent the universe is actually expanding. So this seems correct. Now moving to the second one, observation of redshift phenomena in space. See, the redshift phenomena, when this question was actually asked during that point of time, it was remain in the newspaper. That's why the question have been framed. So okay, let's skip this particular option, move ahead. Movement of asteroid in space. Movement of asteroid in space is nothing to do with the expansion of universe. Okay, they are actually the part of universe. Asteroids are the part of universe, but they do not justify that how universe is actually expanding. So this option can be striked out, and if you strike out the third option, or let's say this 3, so you will be remain with the 3 options. And yes, when we are very sure about the very first, so obviously none of the above would also be striked out. So you are with the 2 options, even without going with the all premises, even without considering all the aspect of the state. So questions are bit tricky rather than difficult. Questions are bit conceptive rather than factual or deep diving or putting a random fact. Fourth one is what? Occurrence of supernova explosion in space. I hope you remember we discussed about theories. Immanuel Kant theory, we discussed about the nebular hypothesis. In none of these theories there was a mentioning of expansion of universe. That means in those theories there were no mentioning, there was no justification, or there was no scientific observation or relation with the expansion of universe. So explosion of supernova is nothing to do with the expansion. Yeah, instead of this, if there has been a mentioning of singularity point, then yes, certainly that could be the answer. But here the mentioning of what? Supernova explosion. In Kant we discussed about the same thing. In Laplace nebular hypothesis we have discussed. So this is not the correct option comes to this particular answer. So still you are left with the 2 options, 1 and 2 and 2 only, right? So now if you are stuck between these kind of condition, as I told you, you have to go. Now let us uh, make let us try to make this particular question correct. So this first is absolutely correct. Observation of redshift phenomena in space. See, redshift is somewhat related with a star. It is what somewhat related with the star. So like star are also the part of universe, obviously. And as I told you, I hope you remember that balloons example where I told you that you have to put some marks on balloon, and if you inflate air in that, so the distance between the stars, or let's say the distance between the galaxies or the distance between the planets, supposed to increase. So like technicality, if we go in the technicality, so we have this star aspect, and when the star formation is there, with that redshift kind of phenomena is associated with that. So it credibly justifies that yes, universe is actually expanding. 1 and 2 would be the correct answer of this particular. All right, so we have seen questions which have been asked by UPSC from this particular topic. See, it is very much vital to practice. How to practice question as much as you. Knowledge is endless. If you want to read, there are endless books. But when it comes to the preparation, when it comes to the strategy, you have to make small plans, you have to make small topics. When you read the topics, make a reverse learning, go with the question, attempt the questions. When you attempt the question, work on your outcome, whether you are succeeding or not. If you are getting good marks, then yes, topic is prepared. If you are not getting good marks, then yes, you have to revise it again. So this uh, is a kind of, the exercise in which you will have a self assessment of your that whether I am able to grab the knowledge or whether I am able to apply that knowledge when it comes to the question, because ultimately that would matter, especially in exam. You may be a knowledgeable person, you may be a genius, you may be a I would say a particular astro scientist, I would say, but for UPSC, for exam, what you have to do, you have to read, you have to apply that. Yeah, out of curiosity, if you want to know more about our solar system and all, then yes, on the sidelines of this preparation, you can go with those books and reading sources, etc. But you have to be focused. You don't want it to be astro, I would say, scientist. You have to be in bureaucracy, UPSC. That's why you have to focus on aspiration rather than the knowledge. Yes, you need a proper strategy. Here at Civil 360, we are strategy. So we are dealing with the topics, and I'm showing you that what questions have been asked. All right. So that will be all about this particular topic.